Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here. Wipe my tears, only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember. The chaos in my mind turned my heart out in November. I'm surrounded by too many doors.
Welcome to the Message Hope Podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today on the podcast we have a gentleman. He has a little over 3 years clean. I don't know him well, but when I do see him, he's always being of service and making himself available and approachable, and I admire him for that. So we asked him to come on. Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Thanks
you,
bro.
for having me.
How's everything going today?
Things are good today, man. I woke up thinking about this and I got into a little bit of yoga, prayer, meditation.
Fire.
And yeah, it's easy to overlook that stuff, but I feel it, like noticeably feel it, like the difference when I start my day like that.
Awesome. All right, Tim. Well, we always start the same way. Tell us a little bit about what it was like for you growing up. Where did you grow up? Did you have siblings? Was there addiction in the household? What kind of family dynamics did you have? What was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up in St. Louis County in Missouri. I grew up with a single mom who is definitely one of us. Undiagnosed, she was in a bad place all my life, like emotionally, mentally. I know my dad now, but I didn't for a long time. I think I met him when I was 8, lived with him for a little bit, moved back and, didn't talk to him for years. I have a brother and a sister with him, like half brother and sister, and same thing. I met them when I met him, and there was a short period of time that we were close, but not really. My dad definitely struggled with drugs too, but when I knew him, like when I lived with him, he wasn't in any of that. Like he was the youth pastor and music director of a church, and during that time, like it wasn't that there wasn't that much like insanity like that I'm used to. Mm-hmm. Me and my mom moved around a lot. I went to I think 6 different elementary schools. Probably went to 12 different schools overall. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like the way that I came up, like I wasn't sure that like I wasn't sure what drugs were doing to people. Like I saw people engaging in drugs and alcohol, and it was just such like a regular part of life that, right. It just seemed like what you do.
Yeah. Was it intriguing to you at that time? Or did it scare you off from wanting to know what it was like? Or
definitely didn't scare me off. Like
it was just normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do remember. So like when I, at a pretty young age, I was probably 10 or 11 when I started smoking weed, and for a while, like I was like that was part of my identity. And I was like, I'm gonna smoke weed. I'm always only gonna smoke weed. People were like, oh, it's a gateway drug. I was like, no, that's nonsense. Yeah. Like I'm gonna do what I do, and I really believed it. I really believed that I was just like this little stoner, and I wasn't ever gonna do harder drugs. And
so at like 10 years old, like you were smoking like every day?
No. Every once in a while,
okay.
a buddy of mine, a kid that was a little bit older. His mom and my mom were like best friends. He would like go steal, her roaches. She had a big bag of roaches. He'd go steal them, and we'd roll them up in whatever kind of paper we could find. That was like every once in a while kind of thing. Yeah. But I remember at first not even liking it. Like I just had to like be accepted by this guy, you know, he was older than me, and this is way before I knew. Well, no, I think I had met my brother, but I didn't really, you know, have a brother. So like I kind of looked at him like that, like my older brother. I just wanted to impress him, and
Yeah. So like I started smoking, like, because you kind of trigger something right now, right? Because my son is 11 years old, right? And like I started smoking at 12. That was the first time I ever took a fucking hit of a joint, was at 12 years old. And it's the same thing, right? Like whenever the older cats in the neighborhood would bring it around, would smoke, like stuff like that, right? But like if I look at my son, that fool is a baby, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That dude is a baby, and I can't even imagine, like, I don't know, it's so hard to comprehend. I think like at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, we think we're so fucking grown, or like you know what I'm saying? And we're like doing all this adult shit, and it's like, bro, we're just fucking babies. Like I look at, I don't know, it just kind of triggered that for me, bro. I look at my son like, fool's 11 years old. You know what I'm saying? That fool's nuts probably haven't even dropped. I can't even imagine if that fool went out and like, you know what I'm saying, lived like the way we lived, or started like experimenting the way we experimented, right? But the beautiful thing is, because I know you got some kids, right? The beautiful thing is like our children don't have to grow up in a world where like getting loaded is normal. Even like drinking, bro. People always say like, oh, it's just drinking. But like I come from a culture of family where, you know, they're getting family members drunk at a very young age, you know, 14, 13, and 15, 16. And for me, right, that's not going to happen with my kids. And I try to keep them away from those kind of family parties because I don't want them to think it's normal. I don't want them to be involved in any of that, bro. You know, it's just not me. I mean, my oldest daughter, she's 21. She does what she does, but like she's an adult. What am I going to say?
Yeah.
You know, you're an adult, bro. You know, if it becomes a problem, come talk to me, you know? Yeah.
yeah, I got the solution.
Yeah.
I do. I remember, you know, in my teenage years thinking, oh, when I got kids, I'm going to teach them how to roll up and stuff. Like, I really thought that, you know. And then, of course, everything changed. Well, unfortunately, everything didn't change when I had kids, you know. But some of that changed, you know. I realized, like, that I had to protect these people. And, like, it wasn't cool to do what I thought, you know. It's just a little bit of growing up. And mind you, I didn't grow up, you know. Having kids did not make me mature. Like, there was a lot of guilt and shame over that, you know. But I can definitely relate because, like, through the stages of, my boys just turned 19 2 days ago. And that's crazy, you know, like, that, like, they're grown. Because I still feel like a kid a lot of times, man. Like, but I remember, like, at the different stages, like, I remember my first time getting high. I remember my first time getting laid. I remember, you know, and I would look at my kids at those ages and just be like, dang, like you said, like, you're still a child. And then it's, you know, then I gotta understand and accept that I was still a child, you know, because I never felt like that. I always wanted to run with the older cats, and like I always fancied myself like older and more mature than I really was. But I look back and I wasn't, you know what I mean? Right. Like I was a kid. I was a kid doing, you know, maybe some grown up things, but definitely nowhere near the level of maturity that, you know, that I thought I was at.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to ask you something about the moving around and going to so many different schools. Like, do you think that had an effect on you as an adult? And like,
Absolutely.
What were those experiences like? Like,
Yeah. So,
you could never get settled.
Never got settled. Never had like a core group of friends. You know, there was pros and cons to it. Like, I learned at a pretty young age how to blend in, which is good and bad.
Oh yeah. Later on, it probably came in handy.
It definitely came in handy, like running the streets.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I also had trouble getting attached. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
which affected my relationships in a negative way.
Yeah.
And, you know, the defense mechanisms we come up with. Like, I move around, like, you know, I would watch movies, you know, and TV shows, and like, they're going to move their family somewhere, and the kid's like, I don't want to go. And I was like, I can't even relate to that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when it's time to go, you just go. Because, like, I'm a runner, and my mom was a runner, you know? And I didn't know that back then, but looking back, like you see all the pieces of the puzzle put together, and it's like, okay, like everything kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so there were times when I would move to a new place, and usually I would just like keep to myself until I got comfortable enough to, you know, act how I wanted to act. And there were times, you know, there were some places I went that I was just afraid. Mm-hmm. Like I'm there and I don't know anybody. And I lived in Georgia at one point, and I remember being like, why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, I'm from St. Louis. Most of my life, I lived in the greater St. Louis area. You know, I just went to different like school districts and stuff, but I was always like, I knew the freeways. I knew, you know what I mean? Like I knew where I was most of the time. And then now I'm in like rural Georgia, and I don't know where I'm at. Like if I wanted to leave here, I wouldn't know where to go. And I'm in like 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And I remember, you know, going to a school where it's like, I think I was like one of the only black kids there. It was real country, and I just remember being like, why? And my mom was gone, you know, like she had to take care of some mental health stuff, and I didn't understand it at the time. All I knew was like, I'm with this like extended family that I really don't know, going to a school where I don't know anybody, and it was wild. And I, like, even at a young age, I just knew like I have to try to fit in, like I have to. Figure out where I fit into this, you know, like this environment. And yeah, like that, like it was hard. It got easier. The more it happened, the more I found myself in like an unfamiliar place, the more I realized like I could survive anything.
Yeah.
And you know, like one of the things I'm grateful with my kids, it's like they've pretty much grown up in the same place their whole life. You know what I mean? Like they got friends. They just turned, like the boys just turned 19. My daughter will be turning 17 in a month. And like they got friends that they've been friends with since kindergarten, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I almost envy them for that. But like I said, I do know that there's pros and cons, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things I wouldn't change. I don't think I would change anything, you know, because like I'm pretty happy with who I am today.
Yeah.
And I had to go through what I went through to get here. So, but yeah, it was, you know, there's a lot of mixed emotions when it comes to like all the moving around and all the, you know, like I was taught at a pretty young age the art of being unstable, you know what I mean? Like instability, just
ready to go at any time.
At any time.
Yeah.
Which helped, again, being homeless, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had a backpack. You weren't gonna catch me pushing a cart because I didn't need anything that couldn't fit in my backpack.
Yeah.
But you know, that's not necessarily a good, you know, like it's cool that I survived that for sure, but you know, that's not anything really I hope for anybody. It breaks my heart still when I see people out there.
Yeah. So what was it like? Where did you end up going to high school? Did you go back to?
My first year of high school, I lived in Utah with my dad. Like I had lived with him for like a summer before, and then went back to St. Louis. And then my freshman year is when my mom was just like, she didn't know what to do with me. You know what I mean? Like I was already kind of like a wild child. So like she was like, I'm going to send you to live with your dad. So my freshman year in high school, I went to this school called Timpview in Provo, Utah. And so I moved to Utah in middle school. The last school I went to in 6th grade was in Provo. And then I went to all of middle school and my freshman year in Utah. It was a little bit weird too, because it was a similar thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm from St. Louis, and it's mostly black and white. Like I go to Utah, and it's mostly white, and there's like no black people. Like there's Polynesian, like islanders, and like a few Mexicans, but like it was mostly white Mormons. You know. And like during that time, like I was heavily involved in the church with my dad. Like we were in the church like 6 days out of the week. I'm playing in a band, I'm singing in the choir, we're doing like drama, you know, like I was always there. And I think that had a pretty positive effect on me, you know, like at least a seed was planted. But then at the end of that year, my freshman year, I think my mom was like, you know, she was missing me. And she was upset that we didn't talk that much, you know? So she pulled me back to St. Louis. And like, mind you, while I'm in Utah, like I'm heavily involved in the church, but I hung out with the skaters at school and they all smoke weed. So when they asked me, like, do you smoke weed? I'm like, yeah, you know, and that's like the early stages of my addiction where I'm like, I got some lunch money and this dude's gonna sell me a sack, you know what I mean? Like, I go on lunch to go smoke with this kid and I come back to school and I'm tripping and I'm paranoid and somebody's gonna know and, you know.
The weed was probably a little better up there, huh?
Better than it was in St. Louis,
Yeah.
But like, you know, there's something about getting away with it that's like alluring. Now, you know, like that was always part of who I was. Like I wanted to do what I wasn't supposed to do and get away with it. Mm-hmm. And I hated facing consequences, but it was, to me, like the rush and the excitement of getting away with it was stronger than the consequences I was gonna have to face. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the end of freshman year, I come back to St. Louis and I start going to school there. I rode the bus to school, keeping to myself for maybe a week or two. And then one day at the bus stop, one of my neighbors was like, hey, do you smoke weed? And I'm like, that's it. That's my end. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody. Like, I hate being alone.
Right.
And I know how to smoke, you know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely I smoke, you know? And that was the start of that life, you know? That's what, through my step work, I found, like, I lived entirely different lives. And this was one of my lives that, like, all those kids that were at my bus stop became, like, my best friends. And all we did was smoke weed together. Mm-hmm. You know, until we started doing other stuff. But so now I'm in school, I'm living with my single mom. My dad is really not in the picture at all. Like we hardly talk anymore. Plus I got resentments toward him for even letting me come back to St. Louis. You know, I realized later on through therapy and stuff, like I wanted somebody to fight for me. Mm-hmm. So when my mom was like, you gotta come back home. Yeah. I didn't allow myself to like feel the feelings, but I look back and I realized I wanted him to be like, no, like he's doing well here. I'm going to keep him here. Yeah. And he, you know, whatever. Maybe his hands were tied. Maybe he didn't know he could tell her no. But yeah, so now I'm back in St. Louis. I'm living with a single mom. She's got to work her ass off, you know, to support us. So like I'm pretty much on my own. I had, you know, a basement. It was kind of like an apartment. Like I had my own space. And that's when I started skipping school and stuff. Like, cause she can't keep track of me, you know? I get home, this is back, we got answering machines and stuff. Yeah. Like I would take the bus to school, walk through the building, walk out the other way and go to my homeboy's house and we'd just smoke all day. And then I'd get home, you know, find the little messages that they left, like your kid wasn't at school, delete that, you know what I mean? Like, and go about my business. And I knew there was going to be consequences to face when it was, you know, parent-teacher conferences and stuff. But like, I learned to just come in every once in a while, take some tests, you know what I mean? Like keep my grades passing and just do whatever I wanted to do, really. Mm-hmm. So that was sophomore year. I ended up getting caught at school smoking weed during lunch one time. They suspended me for like half the year and sent me to an alternative school. And then like, you know, like now I'm with all the bad kids. Yeah. And now I got something to prove, you know? So now I do whatever anybody's going to put in front of me. And, you know, missing that half a year, not really missing it. I was still, now I'm going to school at, they call it the Ed Center. I go to the school at the Ed Center way more than I went to regular school because like
That's where everything's at.
it's popping. Like that's where you know what I mean. Like you can get whatever. Like I met 5 or 6 more connects there. Like and I just thought it was cool. It was a little bit more hood area. You know what I mean? Like so. Once I went back to regular school the next year, I already knew what I wanted to do. And going to school wasn't it,
Yeah.
Like I wanted to kick it. I wanted to get high. I wanted to hang out with girls. Like I wanted to do anything but go to school. And there was something like so cool to me about not going to school, like feeling grown, you know what I mean? Like grown-ups don't go to school, And so this is my junior year. I ended up just like not going to school anymore. Like I just spent the whole year going to, kick it with my friends and whatever I could do besides going to school. It was wild because we'd skip school and go to another school. We'd go to like the community college and shoot pool and stuff. Like whatever was not going to school, we were about it. And eventually my mom found out I wasn't going to school and she was like, what are you doing? Like, you can't, like, you have to go to school. And I think that was the first time that either she put me out of the house or I, like, quote unquote, ran away from the house. And I dropped out of school. They, I went into school to tell them I was dropping out and they were like, you need parental permission to do that. And I was like, well, no, like, I don't have parents,
Yeah.
I fed them this fabricated story about, how bad my life was. Like I didn't have anybody that cared about me and I wasn't going to school. I had to go to work. I had to go, And, I spent the rest of that year just kind of running the streets, couch surfing and, figuring out where I could stay, what I could do. And, they were, I don't know, at one point me and my mom like reconciled and she was like, look, you can come back and live with me, but you have to go to school. So she enrolled me in school for what would have been my senior year. They put me on like a strict, what do they call it? Academic probation. They're like, if you miss any school, you're gone. And the first week of school, I skipped like 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, so then I was gone, I mean, that was it for me. That was my high school. Later on, a friend of mine let me stay with him and his mom and his grandma. And they were like, well, if you're going to stay here, you're at least going to get a GED. So they, took me down to the community college, got my GED, and that was it, Like I felt at that point, like you couldn't tell me anything. Like I got my GED. Like I didn't graduate, but I got this. Like I don't need school, And it was wild too because when we would have the parent-teacher conferences, like all the teachers said the same thing. They're like, this kid's bright. Like it just doesn't want to do what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, my mom just couldn't handle me. She couldn't, it was hard on her,
Yeah. When did you like your addiction progress into like more harder drugs?
So through high school, I had a good friend that's no longer with us, but he was like the pill guy. This is like I said, this is like right before Google really started popping, and he had a book, like a big like textbook looking thing. The pill identifier. So anytime we come up on some pills, we take them to Chad, and he like, and eventually he just knew it all by heart. Like he just look at what you had and tell you what it was. And we partied, like we didn't understand the consequences of doing opiates. You know what I mean? Like we just did whatever we could get our hands on. I would throw house parties at my mom's house, and somebody would bring some Coke over, and now we're up all night snorting lines of Coke. And I'm, probably 16 or 17 at this time. Like when I really started, somebody one of my really good friends that lived across the street, like his family fucked with meth, you know. So the first time that I was definitely 16 the first time I did meth, and I didn't like it. We snorted it and it burned my nose, you know what I mean? I was used to doing coke, and I was like, this not. And then I was up for like 3 days. And like, I remember thinking like, man, I wish I could just go to sleep. But then once that was gone, I remember thinking like, I got to get that feeling back, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So at one of the points when I was like kicked out of the house, I was staying with this chick that was from like a more country part of Missouri. And she'd let me take her car to like drop her kids off at school. But, you know, she liked meth too. So it was like such a, like with all the other drugs, I was cool like doing them around whoever. But like with meth, like I knew, you know what I mean? Like there's people I can't tell about this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I had my black friends and my white friends. And to my black friends, it was not cool to do drugs. You know what I mean? Like you smoke weed, you drink, that's it. All the other stuff is for selling, it's for making money, you know. And like I understood the concept, but like I had already, you know, like opened Pandora's box, as they say. Like, and I love to get high, you know. So like, again, like moving around to a bunch of different schools taught me how to blend in, how to be a chameleon, how to fit in wherever I go. So I just knew who I could share certain things and who I couldn't share things with. By the time I dropped out of high school, I was like I was on whatever drugs were available.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really truly believed that I didn't have an issue. Like I really believed like I was just having a good time.
Yeah.
But you know, it was you know, like the first time I got sick, like dope sick, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew I felt like shit. Like, oh, I must have partied too hard. You know what I mean? Like, and then like drugs were just so readily available that like I usually didn't go without. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was it just wasn't, you know. I still look at that time though, like that wasn't really, my disease hadn't really progressed that much. Like I look back now and I can see like the different steps, but when I was in my mid-20s was the first time that a buddy of mine was like, brought some heroin and a rig and was like, you trying to do this? And I had lost my best friend. He's like my kid's godfather. Probably a year or two before that. He developed a pill habit when he went away to college, and then when he, you know, when he came back, he was hooked on heroin. Like, I kicked it with him one night. I saw him get high. I was like, damn, like that shit's, you know what I mean? Like this is new to me because like I've done all of these drugs, but I've never seen anybody using needles before. And so he turned himself into jail, and when he got out, he turned himself in to get a little clean break. You know what I mean? Like. When he got out, he hit me up and was like, hey, let's go hang out tomorrow. And that night, he died, you know. He went and scored and overdosed. So, like, at that point, I was like, I'm never going to do heroin. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I can't. You know what I mean? I don't want to die. And like I said, fast forward a year or two later, and this dude's got it. He's got a rig, and he's going to hit me with it if I want to. And I remember like really wanting to experience it, but I was so afraid. Like I was so afraid that that's how I was gonna die. And I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like at this point, you know, I already have kids. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but like my kid's mom doesn't want me around, you know what I mean? Not because the drugs are out of control, just because I'm kind of a bum, you know what I mean? Like I don't handle my business, and I was selfish, you know.
Yeah.
So like I'm living this life where I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna see my kids again, and then all of a sudden like dying didn't sound like, you know, it'd be that terrible of a thing.
Yeah.
Like for me, like it's just it's an easy, it's a real excuse, you know, to not do what I'm supposed to do. So he hits me with this shot and everything changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never felt that good before. And I remember just like, probably for like an hour or two, just like kind of giggling, you know what I mean? Just like, and at that point, like I stopped being afraid to die. I was like, if this shit's gonna kill me, it's gonna kill me, you know? Like, I'm gonna keep doing this,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. So that's like the moment where I don't think I could deny anymore that drugs were a problem in my life.
That was like the beginning of the next story in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it changed everything,
Yeah.
you know? I mentioned, you know, like my kids, we talked, I think before we started recording about like, I thought that was going to mature me, like having kids. Like I thought that was going to be the thing that like pulled me out of the selfishness and the, you know, and it just didn't. Like that's just not my story. And, you know, those were, like I said, the different stages of my addiction. Like at that point I was really, you know, once I had kids, like I wasn't really doing hard drugs that much anymore. I wasn't really hanging out with the people I was doing hard drugs with, but I was still drinking and smoking weed. And then my ex, you know, my kid's mom, like she would drink too, but like it just didn't have her like it had me, you know?
Right.
And I think I was a little jealous of that. But what I knew was that like I had to have some money that she didn't know about so that I could go get loaded, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much of a problem that was. You know, I told myself all these stories about like, oh, she's just gonna nag me. Like she doesn't understand. But now, you know, I look back, I'm like, of course, that's addict behavior. You know what I mean? Like we're in this partnership and I'm doing something on the side. Like I was doing construction and stuff. I loved when we had some scrap metal to take, you know what I mean? Cause I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have like $200 that she don't know about. Like I can get a tall boy every day. I can get a blunt every day, you know, like, and, like it was just, you know, that was always such a big part of my life. Like having some secrets was like, it was like one of my favorite things.
Yeah. It's addicting for sure.
Yeah.
Getting away with stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, that's, like, that was it. That was, you know, people talk about their first drugs, you know, cookies or the first lying, you know what I mean? Like that's definitely a big part of it for me, but it was just the secrets, you know? Like I didn't know how dangerous it was, and I loved having secrets. I loved having two different groups of friends that like didn't even really know about each other, you know? Yeah.
So what brought you out here in California? When did that happen?
All right, so late 20s, you know, I'm doing heroin and fentanyl regularly. I got another kid's mom now, you know, and we work together in this restaurant, and the dishwasher there is like a big time tweaker. And so, you know, I've dabbled with meth, but this dude like looks like meth personified. You know what I mean? Like, and there's something so appealing about him to me. Like, so we start kicking it, and like again, another stage of my life. Like, now I'm smoking dope, like in secret. Like I'm like living with my kid's mom, and I'll be in the bathroom all night smoking dope, and then like when the sun starts to come up, I'll like sneak in bed and pretend like I've been sleeping. You know, now that started this. Like now I got a huge, like a crippling meth problem. I start selling meth to supply my habit, and things are going great until they're not, you know?
Yeah.
And pretty quickly, like she leaves, takes the kid. I go to one of my other kids' volleyball games, spun out of my mind. Now she's like, you can't come around anymore. Go get some help. So I'm like, now I'm literally like, I've lost my family. I've lost you know, my place to stay. I'm living out of my car for a little bit until I lose that. Now I'm just on the streets in St. Louis. And somebody like my godfather, and like he talked me into going back out to Utah to stay with my dad. And they're going to take care of it. Like, they're going to get me out there no matter what it takes. So they put me on a plane. I go out to Utah, lived clean for 3 weeks, you know, thinking that geographical change was going to change everything. And, you know, it worked until I met somebody at the corner store that had some dope. And, like, now I'm there in Utah off and running. So, you know, how that life takes us, like, I end up getting locked up. And while I'm in jail in southern Utah, the judge tells me he's going to let me out if I go to treatment. And so I get out, I'm with this girl, and I got this bright idea, like, hey, like, okay, I'll go to treatment, but before that, let's go to California. Like, let's go check out California. I've never been there. I want, you know, it's so close. Like, let's just go. So we head to California. But about Vegas, you know, our toxicity kicks in, and, like, we part ways. Like, we can't, you know, we can't be together anymore. So now I'm in Vegas on foot, nothing. Like, I don't even think I had a backpack anymore. I just started walking towards California. Like, and it was like 120 degrees, bro. The desert was different. Like, I've never experienced that. And I'm like walking down the freeway, like, I think I'm gonna die out here, you know? And I'm all spun out. Like, nobody's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna help me, but somebody did, man. Like, somebody pulled over, and he was like, where you going? And I was like, California, bro. And he was like, okay. He was like, I'm going to California. He's like, you want to ride? And I was like, you know, if you can. So this dude takes me, and I fall asleep in his car, and he drops me off at 7-Eleven in Riverside on 14th.
Damn.
Yeah. And my sister lives in Riverside, right? But I don't know where she lives. I don't know. I think I might have had a phone, but I don't think I knew her phone number. So, like, maybe I didn't have a phone. Anyway, like, I get out at this 7-Eleven, and, you know, there's all these homeless people around and stuff, and I'm like, already, like, my addict mind, I'm like, I could probably get pretty comfortable here, you know?
Weather's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something told me, you got to get out of here. So, like, so I leave and I start walking, right? And I get down a block, right where Lime and 14th are. And my sister's boyfriend, who I've never met, we've, like, seen pictures of each other on Facebook, pulls up, and he's like, Tim? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, you know, and he was like, get in the car, man. I've been looking for you. And I'm just like, how could you be looking for, you know what I mean? Like, how do you know I'm here? And it turns out the guy that gave me a ride got a little bit of information out of me and, like, reached out to my sister on Facebook or something and was like, hey, like, I got this dude. I'm bringing him to Riverside. You know, and it was like, that was a huge, you know, like, I'm nowhere near being ready to be clean.
Yeah.
But, like, that was a huge, like, it was an undeniable truth at that point that God was watching me. You know what I mean? Because, like, I'm in a place, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I'm just gonna start walking, and I don't know, I don't know where to go. I have no idea. I just know I should be walking. And what's crazy, like, what I trip about a lot is if that hadn't happened right there, like, if I had gotten past Lime right there, he would have never found me.
Yeah.
I would have never, you know what I mean? I would have kept walking and ended up at one of the parks, you know what I mean? Like, or at the river bottom, you know what I mean? And, like, I wouldn't, like, I'd just be out there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, who knows? Like, but that is the way that it happened. And it's, like, you know, like, I don't talk about this too much, but I think about it a lot, you know? Because, you know, I ended up staying with my sister for a little bit and wreaking havoc over there like I do, you know what I mean? Like, there's a wake of destruction everywhere I've ever been, you know? Like, I hurt people, like.
Yeah.
And, But because of that, she was like, you got to get the fuck out of here, And I ran the streets for a little bit out here and realized it's different. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that back home, running the streets was even different. Like there was always somebody every once in a while that I could call and let me crash at their house or come take a shower. I didn't have none of that shit here. So like, luckily while I was with my sister, like she got me set up with like Medi-Cal and that's all it took. When it was time, I'm living in some RV in someone's backyard and I'm looking around and like I can't get high. You know what I mean? Like for whatever reason, like I'm smoking and shooting and I feel like I'm not high. And that's when like everything seemed like really dark, you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I had heard someone say to call 211, if you want to go to rehab, call 211. And I did that, bro.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
That you did that.
I did it.
Trip.
And they told me, they were like, we can probably get you in a place in 10 days. And I was like, oh, I'm dead. I'm not going to make it 10 days. I really thought, you know what I mean? I was like, I got off the phone and was like, fuck it. I tried,
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to live this life. Like, and then like, I think 2 days later, I got a call, and was like, hey, we can get you in a bed tomorrow. And I was like, now at this point, I'm like, I'm high as a kite. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to get clean, And I'm like, well, all right, maybe, yeah, I'll do that.
You're like, call me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go. Yeah.
And so I tell the people I'm with at this little trap house, like, hey, man, I got to go to rehab. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know. I got a call. I'm going to go to rehab. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, I don't know, just to see what it's like, I guess. Like, I'm like, and here's what I said. I'm like, I'll be back.
Yeah.
And they're like,
They're still waiting for you.
yeah. And this chick's like, well, if you're going to come back, why go? She's like, you're like taking an opportunity for somebody that actually wants to get clean. And I was like, damn, like maybe she's right, And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I think I do want to be clean. I at least got to give it a shot, So this guy tells me he's going to take me, he's going to drop me off at rehab. And the time comes and all of a sudden, we're all spun out and there's 1,000 things to do and I can't take you right now. And I'm like, oh. And I start to realize like, I got to do this on my own, So I call the rehab and I'm like, hey, look, I can't get there today. And I'm kind of thinking they're just going to be like, whatever, you're asked out then. And what she told me, she was like, look, we're going to give you one more day. Like, get here tomorrow or your bed's going to be taken. And I was like, all right. And so I spend the rest of the day like thinking like, what am I going to do? So I like map out the trip, and I'm like off of Spruce, like near downtown, and I got to get to Woodcrest. And I got a bicycle, but it's a hike, you know what I mean? Like, but I can do it, you know what I mean? Like I've walked entire cities before. I made it to, a little part of the story I didn't share. Like I was in LA County at one point and made it back to Riverside. Like, I'm like, whatever, I'm going, you know what I mean? Like, so then I didn't talk about it anymore because I knew the people I was with were going to try to convince me to not go. So I was just like, when it's time to go, I'm going to go. So in the morning, I hop on my bike and I get ready to pedal off. And the dude that told me the day before that he was going to take me was like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to rehab, bro. And he's like, you're really going? I was like, yeah. And he was like, jump in the car, man. I'll take you right now. And he did. So I get in the car, he takes me. And all the way there, like, this dude's a different person now. You know what I mean? And he's telling me how he sees something special in me and, like, how he hopes I stay. And he hopes I get clean, And he's like, and if you don't, call me, But, like, he's like, there's something about you, man. Like, I think you can do it. And it, you know what I mean? So now I get dropped off at MFI And I decided to try it, man. Like, I get checked in, and I was so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, they put me in quarantine because it's during the COVID thing. Like, it's a little side house that sleeps 4 people, but I'm the 5th. You know what I mean? So I got a little cot that's in the kitchen, and I'm, you know, I'm like, whatever. Like, there's some food, there's a shower. Like, I'm gonna take advantage of that, and then maybe I'll leave. And I slept for a few days, you know, just waking up when they had to bring me out to ask me the little clinic questions and stuff.
Right. Blood pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when I actually like kind of came to, I was just like, man, I don't know if I can stay here. There was another guy with me that was like, I think I'm gonna leave. And we just kept telling each other every day, like, maybe like let's just stay one more day. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe we'll leave tomorrow.
Right.
And then they brought us into the big house, and like, and then there's like 50 guys there, and now I'm like way less comfortable. And we had that same conversation, like, bro, I think I'm about to bounce, you know. And I don't know if it was him or me, but one of us is just like, let's just try one more day, you know. And we stayed, you know, and I got to learn how to maneuver there, you know what I mean? Like, I make my bed every day. I do these chores, you know what I mean? Like, all this stuff that I would not do, you know, and it just helped build a little bit of structure. We're doing our little classes and stuff. They're sending me to a therapist, like, and like, the more clear my head gets, the more I'm like, man, maybe I can do this. Like, maybe I can just stay clean. And all these feelings I had that, like, you know, that I was never going to see my kids again or never talk to them again, like, that started to seem like maybe that's not the case. Like,
Yeah.
and if there's any chance that I have of being back involved in their lives, like, the only option right now is to not pick up, you know.
That's kind of what I tell people when they're like, "Oh, I'm never gonna see my kids again." I'm like, "Well, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're definitely not, right? At least if you get clean, get into recovery, right? Like, at least there's a slight hope and a slight chance that these relationships could be rebuilt. You know what I mean? But I think it's so funny because we're all gamblers here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all fucking gamble with our life. You know, we all gamble with the decisions we make, with the drugs we use, right? But yet, when it comes to gambling with recovery, it's difficult, right?
You're like, whoa,
Hey,
the stakes are too high now.
oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I tell people I like in the field that I work in, I'm telling them like, bro, okay, so like, you're and your wife's relationship is in shambles. She's ready to divorce you, right? There's a very low chance, right, that she's gonna fucking change her mind, or that something's gonna fucking be different. But there's no chance if you go back out and you get back loaded again, bro. There's just no chance. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes just that glimmer of hope. Because one thing we always, you know, talk about like in the rooms is like, we can't promise you anything, right? We're not gonna promise you your kids back. We're not gonna promise you a career. We're not gonna promise you the wife. We're not gonna promise you, you know, happiness for the rest of your life. But like, even with the chance and the glimmer of hope that like things could happen, you know what I'm saying? And hearing other people's stories, you know, and the truth is some people don't get their kids back.
Yeah.
Truth is some people don't get their marriages back. Some people, but I mean, for me, at least in recovery, we get ourselves back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, like, I got 4 kids. 3 of them talk to me, 1 of them doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things, you know, I learned acceptance around here, you know. That's, and I my sponsor told me like fantastical thinking was one of my character defects, right? So like, I got the way that I think things ought to be, and like these weird ways I think things could be if only this, and this were to happen.
Yeah.
But something I learned through recovery was like, well, why don't we start with how things are? You know what I mean? Like, what can I do? You know, and that's where I'm at now. Today I can stay clean. I can do some step work. I can work with, you know, somebody else, show somebody else, how, you know, share my message, and have some faith that things are going to work out. Like, that's that it's my only shot. My only shot is to stay clean.
Yeah.
Like to have the life that I want to have. Because like I said, I have caused like so much damage in my addiction. Like I've hurt so many people. And the ones that loved me the most are the ones that got the most hurt, you know?
Yeah. Every time.
Yeah. And there's people I'm not going to be able to make it up to, you know what I mean? People that aren't here anymore. But that's not an excuse to not, you know, to not live the way that I know I ought to, you know, like.
It's even more of a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm
Living amends.
like, I'm grateful today, man. I wasn't sure, like even different stages throughout being in residential treatment where I was just like, maybe I'll stay clean for a week or a month. You know, I would see, they would take us to meetings like outside meetings, and I would see people taking like 9 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy. Like, I'm not here for that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I tell people a lot, like, when I went to treatment, my idea was like a tolerance break, a shower, and some food.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to, you know, go steal for. Like,
Yeah.
just, they got this program, I'm going to take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always looking for some kind of lick. That was another lick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as time went by, like, I would think about, like, how long. I was not going to be here this long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't going to do it. And there's something about, you know, like seeing somebody else's story, you know, like hearing somebody else share what they've been through, that for me was like, damn, like you went through all that, you know,
Yeah.
and you're clean, you know, like maybe I can do it.
Right.
It's humbling too.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't go through half of that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, if he got through all that, I can get through anything.
Yeah. Cause that was it, you know, that was it for me. You know, I had all these things, all this resentments from childhood, you know what I mean? Like I had some sexual trauma that I went through, and like because of that, like I resented my mom for allowing something to happen, like and my dad for not being there, you know what I mean? And then like I come full circle to realize like that wasn't, well, like maybe it was someone's fault, but it definitely wasn't my mom's fault. You know what I mean? It definitely wasn't my dad's fault. But one of the hardest things for me to understand was it wasn't my fault. You know, that was one of the like breakthrough moments in treatment. Somebody shared something very similar to what I went through, and it was somebody I didn't really much care for. You know what I mean? Like I kind of didn't fuck with dude. And when he shared his story, I was like, damn, me too, bro. You know? And then I was like, damn, like how many of us have, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, probably a lot, you know? And then that like almost like allowed me to have some grace for the person who hurt me. It was like, damn, what did you go through, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's it. You know what I mean? Like I want to share that because there's a good chance somebody's going to hear this that went through some shit that doesn't know they're not the only one. Because that was me my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I'm not ever going to own up to that shit because what does that say about me, you know?
Yeah.
And then like once I heard somebody share it, and then once I shared it for the first time, it was like this weight came off my shoulders, and I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like I always, my whole life I dealt with that as a 6-year-old, you know what I mean? Like a 6-year-old's mind was trying to process these things that a 6-year-old can't process. Right. But I'm a grown man now. So now when I reintroduced the idea, now I'm an adult sorting through this stuff, and I was like, and it's like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like I was a victim of something. That doesn't mean I have to be a victim. Like I don't have to remain a victim.
Right.
But like I don't have to write somebody I just heard last night was talking about like I don't gotta, like that's not mine to own.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't gotta carry this. And it was just like, damn. And now, you know, I worry for other people who are going through things, but that's like one of the biggest things I found is like the more I share, the more people can understand, like, you might be the only one that went through this. Probably not.
Yeah.
Like it probably not. And like I tell the guys I work with, like, I might not know how to help you with that, but I guarantee there's somebody around here that does.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Like,
So when you got out of treatment,
Mm-hmm.
did they give you any advice? Did they give you any guidance? And what did you end up doing
so
right out of treatment?
So it was cool the way that the way my deal was set up. So they sent me to treatment for 90 days. After that 90 days, I go to a sober living, and I think they gave me like 3 months there, maybe even 4 months, of living in a place that I wasn't gonna have to pay rent.
Nice.
During that time, I have to go to IOP, intensive outpatient treatment, and it was recommended that I go to some meetings. You know, some of these other treatment places are a little bit more hardcore. Like, no, you're gonna go to a meeting every day.
Right.
I respect that. You know, I got out. I went to my sober living, and while, you know, one of the times they took us to a meeting, I asked one of these guys to sponsor me because they kept, you know, one of our peer support guys was really involved in one of the 12-step programs that was like, this is what you have to do, you know, like,
Yeah.
He's like, I see guys come through here all the time and they tell me, I'm going to get out, I'm going to get a job. And I tell them, don't even worry about that. Like, get out and go to a meeting, get a sponsor and work some steps. And like, he kind of drilled that into my head at least, you know? So like, I get a sponsor. As soon as I get out, I get into the sober living, I unpack my stuff. I called this dude. I'm like, hey man, I'm out. He's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I want to go to a meeting. He was like, I'll come get you right now.
Oh, yeah.
And he came and got me, and he took me to a meeting. And
Oh, yeah.
there were some guys there that I know today. And I started to see, you know, like, this dude had something that I wanted. He's actually not my sponsor now, but he got me started. You know what I mean? He got me some literature. He got me like just on my way, you know. And while I was in that sober living that was in Woodcrest, it was perfect because it was right there in like Moreno Valley or whatever. It was like one of the closest places, I think, to me to go to a meeting. So that was my first home group, you know. And I didn't really know what that meant. I called it my home group. I don't think I had any commitments there or anything. But I was gonna be there every single week, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going to IOP in Riverside, so I'm on the bus a lot, you know. It's like an hour and a half bus ride from my sober living to IOP. So while I'm there,
Did you guys do that as a group? Like all the
No.
guys went?
I was just on my own to do it.
Okay.
Which was really like a test.
It's probably a good thing, looking back at it.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Like for me it worked, you know. But I remember thinking like, man, if I wasn't going to these meetings, because, you know, the buses are wild in Riverside. Like,
Yeah.
I got to change buses at the mall, and it's active at the mall. You know what I mean? Like, people tried to pass me stuff so many times, and it was like, that was another little spiritual awakening that, like, somebody's got me. Because, like, I don't stay clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've been clean before. I've never been in a 12-step program before, but, like, I've been on probation where I had to stay clean or, you know, there was different reasons in my life that I stopped using for a little while, but like it was always temporary and it was always known to be like, I got to stay clean for this long. This was a different feeling because this was just like, I don't think I want to use, you know what I mean? Like, and then God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. Cause like, I don't know how to live like that. You know, all I ever knew, like I spent my whole life thinking like there's like a skill level to doing drugs, you know what I mean? So like, I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit a vein every single time. Like I'm going to smoke. I'm not going to burn the pookie. You know what I mean? Like, like I spent my whole life learning how to live this way. Like it was such a huge part of my identity of who I was that like, I wasn't really willing to let go of it because I didn't know how to live another way. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm out here in the world, and I tell people, like, when you go to residential treatment, you don't have a lot of freedom, but you don't have a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
And then
Trade off.
Yeah. So then from there, I go to sober living where I have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, I can leave and go somewhere, and but I have to be back at a certain time. And to eventually, I went to a few different, because like that, my first sober living, like I said, it was paid for by the county. So like, that wasn't even one of my responsibilities. Like, I didn't have to pay to be there.
Yeah.
I go to my next sober living and I got a little bit more freedom. Like, I might not have a curfew at all, but now I got to pay rent. And it's just on me to make stuff. I got to get food. Like,
Yeah.
it was just, for me, I don't know, man. Like, I look back and it's like kind of overwhelming, like how perfectly things lined up for me to be where I am today. And mind you, like, I still got a lot of work to do on me, but like, I recognize that and I'm willing, like, and that willingness is something I just didn't know about before I got here.
Yeah, you did it like step by step too. I was just at an alumni event, and the alumni that were there had like, one of them had like 58 days, and I was just telling them like something that was told to me when I was in treatment numerous times, like, stay as long as you can, as long as they're gonna pay for it. Stick around, dude. There's no rush to get back to anything. You don't have to rush to go back and fix everything. And the more time you can be in here and create some structure in your life and like build a foundation, the better off you're going to be every single time.
Yeah.
Some of those programs like are a year long,
Yeah.
2 years long, and like those programs have the highest success rates.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, I remember going to treatment the first time and they're like, you got to go for 90 days. And I just thought that was like a jail sentence, dude. Like, I was like 90 whole days, but I would be like, I'd be on a nod for 90 days, dude.
Yeah.
And not even notice.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like about to be Christmas again.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the whole year went, but I'm worried about 90 days. And so it wasn't until I wasn't in a rush to get back. I mean, I had to be thoroughly whooped at the end, dude, like, for me to finally become willing enough to do something different. Like, not think I knew what was best for me for once.
Right.
And that's what the last time was like for me. So like, that's pretty awesome. So like, what's it like for you today, man?
So, man, things are good, man. Like, I'm getting ready to move back home to the St. Louis area, because like, I want to be in my kids' lives.
Yeah.
And like, I got a girlfriend. She's in recovery. She got a little bit more time than me, and it's like, it's a healthy relationship, man. And I realized that I've never experienced that before.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just grateful, man. Like, so yeah, so I got like 3 years clean, a little bit over 3 years. Like, I'm working with some other guys with a little bit less time than me, I'm surrounded by people in recovery. Like, I'm employable, I got a job. It's kind of wild. Like, I work in a bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's, I tell people all the time, I don't suggest it. Like, I've had a few people ask me if I can get them a job, and I'm like, nah, bro. Like, I'm not going to get you a job where I work, because everybody's not built for it, you know? And I might not be built for it. Like, I'm looking forward to getting into some other things. But as it is right now, like, I go to meetings, I work steps, I stay in constant contact with people that are like me, you know what I mean? People, like-minded people. I said I got 4 kids, 3 of them I talk to on a regular basis. I pay child support, which is, something wild that I told myself. Like, I came up with this story about how, like, my baby mama's just trying to get what she can out of it. You know what I mean? Like all they ever wanted was what they needed, you know?
Yeah.
So to understand that, man, like I'm in a good place. Like, I'm excited, man. I'm excited and I'm hopeful and, yeah, grateful, man. Like, I'm of service, you know, I think I took all the suggestions, you know. They told me not to get in a relationship in the first year. And I know that's not in our literature, but it was a suggestion that was given to me. So I didn't. Like, and I had a problem with women the same way I had a problem with drugs, you know.
Yeah.
So
for
like
sure.
taking a year, taking a year to like get to know myself, it was imperative for me, you know. And then when I did meet the girl that I'm with now, she had a good sponsorship family, and they told her, don't have sex for the first 90 days. If you find somebody you actually like and you want to be in a relationship with, don't have sex for the first 90 days. And she told me that, and I was like, huh, I guess that makes sense, you know. And so we didn't, you know. And there were some times that like I got uncomfortable in myself, in my own skin, like I do. And like I thought, you know, like maybe that would change it, you know. And she was just like reminding me, like, this is what we said we were gonna do. And I was like, that's right, you know?
Yeah.
So we didn't, man. And I'm sure that has something to do with, you know, how strong, like, we got to know each other, you know? I've never done that. I didn't even want to know myself, you know what I mean? Let alone let somebody else actually get to know me.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, but it's just not like that today, man. Like life is good. I feel good. I feel comfortable being alone. That's something I never was able to do. Like I feel comfortable with other men.
Right.
That's something that was not a part of my I wanted to always be surrounded by females. You know what I mean? Like, and I just realized, like, for me, that was just an unhealthy. It was just another way of reaching outside of myself to feel better inside myself.
I think when it comes to like men, like I was uncomfortable with being who I am in front of men. So I always had like a persona, or like I'm this or I'm that, and I've done this or I've done that, or like don't play with me, don't fucking you know what I'm saying? Like all that macho bullshit, right? Because of like it's all fear based, right? Like I'm not gonna be a victim. You're not gonna take advantage of me. Like I'm not, you know. So like I had it was easier for me to open up to women, right, than it was for me to open up to men.
Yeah, the
right?
more tender.
Huh?
They're
The more tender, the more understanding. They deal with emotions better, right? But here's the truth: like in recovery, that's not a reality, right?
No.
Like men, we learn how to be more tender. We learn how, and you know, it's funny, bro, because like I hate the word soft. You know what I'm saying? Like I fucking hate it, but like I still hate it a little bit. It still makes me fucking my stomach turn a little bit, but like it's okay to be soft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's okay to have a soft spirit. It's okay to like be loving, caring, compassionate, and you can still be like I just seen this post where it's like he's like, you know, I don't strive to be like an alpha male. Like I just want to be a masculine male, right? Like, and that's all I need to be. Like I am a masculine male. I don't have to be an alpha. I don't have to like control everything and run everything and be, you know, like my goal is to be a masculine male, right? But in my opinion, right, and what I've learned, because I've had to, and me and Mike, like a lot of us guys talk about this, like I had to reframe my thinking of what a man is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is, like, a man should be loving, caring, compassionate, understanding, empathetic to others, bro. It's just, I know I should, right? But then there's also a part of me that's like, I should be able to rip your head off if I ever have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, you fuck with my kids, you fuck with my family. Like, there's going to be a fucking problem. You know what I'm saying? But learning how to, like, maneuver through that and not allow, like, that aggressive side be my identity, right? Like, that's not all of who I am, and you'll rarely see that unless like I'm pushed to that point, which I do my best to stay away from all that stuff. But like I think for me it was really hard, and you know, sponsorship taught me how to be vulnerable with men. You know what I'm saying? It started with my sponsor. I was still, you know, people that knew me when I first got clean, I was still like this is up there from San Bernardino, you know what I'm saying? And like and then like opening it up to my sponsor and then talking about the shit that you were talking about, right? The shit that maybe wasn't our fault, and some of the shit that was our fault, some of the shit was our doing, right? Like being able to like express that to another male, right, was fucking huge to me because I finally let my walls down. I finally allowed one person. All it took was to allow one person to see who I really was and how I really felt. And then that was like a chain reaction to, I didn't obviously like go to the next man and like, this is who I am. But like once I opened up to him, I was able to open up a little bit to other men, a little bit to other men, a little. And then now it's like, I mean, do I still have walls? I do feel like I still have walls. There's still like masks that I wear once in a while. I'm actually really noticing that a lot in my life right now. So I'm trying to pay attention to that. But for the most part, like I am who I am, bro. I get to be who I am. You know, and that's like a beautiful thing, bro. Because, you know, I tell my clients, bro, like we spend more time with ourselves than anybody else in this world.
Yeah.
And we know less about ourselves than anybody else in this world, bro. And that's a people like, well, I know who I am. No, you don't, bro.
Right.
You have no fucking clue, bro.
Yeah.
You have no clue who the fuck you are.
If you say that, you have no idea.
You have
That's
no
a
idea,
fact.
bro.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look at us,
I'm
bro.
always
We're in
learning.
recovery. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We got sponsors. We're working steps. You're going to therapy. You're doing yoga. Like we pray, we meditate, we do all these different things. And there's still so much about myself that I'm discovering. Like even like in the relationship that I'm in right now, bro. Right? Like I look at people like you, bro. Like to be so early in your recovery and like to be able to jump into a healthy relationship, like. I look at that and I admire that, bro. Because like I'm coming up on 12 years, bro, right? And I'm still trying to learn how to maneuver through healthy relationships because like I'm so selfish, so self-centered, and so self-seeking. And it's like at the core of me, right? And I'm still trying to learn how to maneuver that. But like relationships for me bring out parts of me that a relationship with a male doesn't, right? Because
Insecurity
like,
for sure.
insecurities, yeah. Because like Mike, I love Mike. Mike's like my best friend, dude. Like I really fucking love this dude. I care about him, right? But like if he hurts my feelings, bro, I don't give a fuck, dog. Like we're men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like tomorrow,
We try
like,
to hurt each other's feelings.
Like we get upset with each other, right? Like there's times where I'm like, fuck that dude. You know what I'm saying? But the next day I'm like, hey, what's up, fool? What are you doing? Right? It's not that big of a deal, right? But like when you're with a woman, like that is such a deep relationship, right? Because they see parts of you and they have parts of you that Mike will never have of me. Right? That women will have parts of me that my children will never have of me, bro. You know, but my parents will never have of me, right? And so like that for me is like one of the most scariest things that I fucking walk through. I surrounded myself with men for a long time. Like when Mike first met me, it was men, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm comfortable with, which I wasn't in the early recovery. But then you put me in a relationship, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, I swear, bro, it's so fucking tricky to like maneuver through, right? And like I believe that like romantic relationships will bring out so many character defects, right, and shortcomings that other relationships won't, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like right now, like I'm trying to maneuver through this new relationship, and my sponsor told me, he was like, bro, if you never get in a relationship, and maybe he knew this is what I needed, bro, right? He said, if you never get in a relationship, how are you ever going to know how to be in one, right? And so, like, my truth is, right, is I've been in multiple relationships, right, throughout these 11 years, but each relationship, because of recovery, I've been able to take a little bit from each, learn a little bit from each, and, like, every time I get into a relationship, like, I feel like I'm more prepared, I'm more ready. And then, like, the relationship I'm in now is absolutely the best fucking relationship with the best woman. Even my choice in women have gotten better, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was thinking about this last night. I know I don't mean to take the hostage, but, like, I was thinking last night, bro, like, every owl, right? Because, like, before I got into this relationship with this woman I'm in now, right? I was so hard on myself, like, why can't you get it right? Like, why can't you just like I see my sisters, bro, they're in fucking marriages. They you know, they're happy. They have such solid foundation. I'm talking about like my sisters are younger than me and they've been in their marriage longer than I've been clean. You know what I'm saying? Like they're fucking amazing. And I compare myself and I think to myself, like, why can I not get this right? Right. But then like I was thinking last night, like all these owls, right? All these losses that I've had in relationships have prepared me for the relationship that I'm in now, bro. Because I'm way more mature, I'm way more understanding, I'm way more loving, and I'm way more assertive than I've ever been, right? Because I'm either like a complete asshole and I'm treating you like shit, or I'm a complete fucking like soft dude, just like, okay, babe, let's do this, right? And like today, like I feel like I'm really finding my happy medium. Like I was able to express to her a few nights ago about how I really felt about something, and not like, and be able to set like a firm understanding of who I am and where I'm coming from without the fear of, if I tell her this, she's gonna leave. Right. And we're both able to talk about uncomfortable conversation. That's what it takes to be in a relationship, bro. You know, I don't know why I went off on all that, but my point is, right?
I love that. That's like one of my favorite things to talk about, bro.
Yeah, it's difficult, bro.
Yeah.
Right. And I could be hard on myself. Mike knows, anybody who really knows me, like one of my biggest character defects is I am so hard on myself. It's also a driving factor that makes me move forward and push harder. But at some point it becomes this chore instead of a journey. It becomes like I'm just trying to grind. I'm just trying to push. And it's like, just relax, bro. Like, you're good enough who you are, right? There's things everybody has to work out, bro. No matter how much clean time you get, how much recovery, how many steps, how many Swanseas, how many speaking events, it doesn't matter, bro. I look at it like some of the people that get on the main stages are some of the most fucked up members in Narcotics Anonymous. So I fit right into that, you know what I'm saying? And so like maneuvering through relationships, maneuvering through all those feelings, like discovering like who we are, right? And for me, more importantly, like who I want to be and strive to be that. It could be difficult, but it's like, it's a gift of recovery, because we didn't have that kind of awareness when we're getting loaded. Right? Like, I stopped gambling. Today's 11 days, right?
That's right.
Like, I didn't have that kind of awareness when I was out there getting loaded, bro. There wasn't an awareness where, like, things were... I even called Mike, and I was like, bro, like, I'm fucking using. And he kind of laughed at me. He's like, bro, you're not using, right? You just have an obsession, right? You have a compulsion, right? And so, like, you need to do something about it. And I think, like, 3 days later, I stopped gambling, and I didn't even play the raffle yesterday, bro, because I'm like, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna fucking smoke a blunt and say, well, it's not as bad as methamphetamine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna do that, bro. You know, for now, who knows what my life looks like? Sure. You know, if I go to Vegas, if I go on another cruise, I'm probably gonna gamble a little bit, right? But for now, like, I just want to stay on that, and so like, yeah.
I like one of the things with what you were just saying about like finding that happy medium. To me, goes with what you were saying earlier. Like, to me, that's what masculinity is.
Yeah.
Like, there's a time and a place, and you know, some old dude told me one time, like, 90% of getting work done is having the right tool for the job, and like that's what I'm finding with like who I am as a person.
The other part's showing up.
Yeah, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And like, so like, there's a time and a place for me to be a tough guy, to not let my emotions get the best of me. To not, you know, sometimes I just got to put the emotions in the pocket and get through it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I got something to do. Like, but then there's other times when that's not it. And the best thing I can do as a man is to allow myself to be more sensitive and to at least identify my feelings, see where they're coming from, and then get back to being assertive and letting someone know, like, hey, I don't like how this makes me feel. Could you please refrain from doing that? I didn't know I could do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I didn't know I could, first of all, tell somebody that my feelings were hurt. Second of all, that I could ask somebody to do something about it. But in a loving relationship, that's exactly what I can do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like, but you know, it took me a lot of relationships where I caused a lot of damage, and maybe a lot of damage was done to me too. Yeah. That like, to get to where I am, to like, to know, you know, like, this is what I expect. Somebody told me, I don't remember when or where, but somebody told me, when it comes to a relationship, like, make a list. Mm-hmm. Make a detailed list of everything you want in a partner. And I'm like, okay, like, just do that first. Mm-hmm. And then after that's done, then look at that list and be that person, you know? Because, like, that's what, I'm selfish and self-centered, too. I want what I want. I want you to do exactly what I want you to do. Right. And I might not be willing to do what I should do in order to you know, to get that or to deserve it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm probably not willing to do what you want me to do, you know, but like, all I gotta do is be who I want you to be, you know what I mean? And then I have that to stand on. Now, if you treat me a way that I don't treat myself, like, I don't have to put up with that. Absolutely. And I hope, you know, I think my relationship's good, and I think it'll stay good for a long time. We talked about this early on. I hope that if it turns out not to be, that I can walk away from it.
Yeah.
And what we talked about was like, I think I can.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm doing enough work on myself. And that was one of the things that attracted me to her so much, was I knew she was doing the work on herself. They're like, we're not going to put up with some shit that we put up with in the past, you know. We know what we expect from one another. And like, a lot of it is just not having expectations.
Yeah.
But it's just about, for us, it's about just being able to communicate. Like, hey, I don't like that.
Yeah.
The first time I asked her I didn't even ask her not to do something. I told her I didn't like the way that the idea of it made me feel. And her response was, oh, I won't do that then. And I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I fully expected a fight. I thought like, fuck, man, like, I'm going to tell her that I'm uncomfortable with this. And then she's going to be defensive. And like, then you know what I mean? Like, I'm in my mind, because I'm an addict, which means I think a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this going to be the end of us? You know, I've had this whole conversation in my head,
Maybe
whole
I
fight.
shouldn't say anything at all.
Maybe I shouldn't say anything at all. And I'm
Right.
asking my homies, like, should I, you know? And some of them are like, yeah, you should. And some of them are like, no, bro, don't even trip. And I decided to say something. And when I did, I was just greeted with love, man, and grace. And she was just like, oh, she's like, you don't got to worry about that. But if it makes you feel that way, then I'm not going to do it. And I was just like, damn, man. Like, I didn't know I was worthy of that. Like, I didn't know I was worthy of love like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Tim. Well, I got one more question for you before we wrap it up, man. If there was one single piece of advice you could give to somebody who's struggling right now and doesn't know which way to turn, and like, or maybe they're early on in recovery and don't know what to do next, man, what would that be?
Keep an open mind. I think that's the most important thing. Like, you know, everybody in the 12-step world is going to tell you, get a sponsor, work some steps, go to meetings, find a God of your understanding, you know, and don't pick up. All of those things, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have, for me, like, I had to have an open mind to get there. So, like, have an open mind, have some grace for yourself, and just give this thing a shot, man.
Yeah. For sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. I want to say, I really appreciate you coming on, bro. Like, this was a really good conversation. You're very well spoken. And like, I really, really enjoyed this podcast. So thank you, bro.
I appreciate you guys having. I really do, man. Like, yeah.
It's awesome. We get to know people. Oftentimes at the end of it, like, people share with us that like there's things that they hadn't talked about in a long time, and like, it was good for them, it was good for us, and all in all, it's like
Therapeutic.
value
the way
right
around,
here.
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time. So, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
And if you guys could, please like, comment, subscribe to all of our channels. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And make sure to follow us on IG, which is at The Message is Hope Podcast with _ between each word. Be sure to share this with anybody who you think needs to hear Tim's story. And we'll see you guys next week.
As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
You know, it's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you, and take you out forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.